What's going on, Internet? This is the Fifth Down NFL newsletter where Mike and I get together and we pick 5 NFL topics. We're going to talk a little bit of gambling. We're going to be talking the game of the week, Ravens, Eagles, fantastic matchup there. And then we're going to be, in honor of Thanksgiving, talking about some players that we're thankful for, that we get to see every single week play football. But first, before we get into it, Daniel Jones signs with the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
And as I was doing research for the show, there's a nice cross section because we're going to be talking a lot of Lamar Jackson later on in this show. The only NFC team to beat him as a starter, the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. When I was going through there, I'm like, who was the loss to? And then I was like, oh, yeah, Danny Dimes improved. Remember when the Giants were like 5-1? We're all like, who the hell is this? Like, what team is this? Mike, how we doing?
I'm doing amazing. And I saw that news and I was like, man, that couldn't be a more perfect landing spot for Daniel Jones. He literally just like saw what Sam Darnold did and said, I'll take some. Because let's be real and be honest, like, that's a real question if Daniel Jones gets the playbook and everything over the next 6 weeks of to who is the better quarterback between those two. You obviously start Sam Darnold going into the playoffs, but if something happens now, I think the Vikings have a chance still, somewhat.
I do. We talked about this last week. I like the idea of developing him as a backup. Like we act like that. We talk about how bad he is as fans, or you hear NFL players discuss him and they talk about how bad he is. But it's like, is he still a top 30 quarterback in the league? Probably in the right setting, like somewhere closer towards the end of that. Well, we're not doing a rankings thing, but like you need players that are dedicated, that have NFL experience that you can have as backups. We know how important that is. So good for them. We've all thought Nick Mullins is a good backup. Why not have 2 good backups? Sam Darnold is balling. So I got to disagree with you there because I think Sammy D is going to put something together special. We're looking at it. We're not even talking about a Vikings team that's 9-2 right now. And if you look at the rest of the Lions schedule, it's like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Philadelphia Eagles end up with the 1 seed if they can keep winning out. Big matchup. We'll get to that later in the show. But let's talk about our first down topic as we go into Saquon Barkley. Mike was there in SoFi. Saquon runs for 255 yards. I forgot to look up what he had in the receiving game.
47 yards.
So we're talking, 300 all-purpose yards in the game? Like, just a fantastic game. He's on pace to break Chris Johnson's record and Eric Dickerson's single-season game record, and it's like, the internet's going mad with Saquon for MVP. And this topic is just a plea to anybody who has a vote for MVP. Just consider the fact that we understand how valuable the quarterback position is. And we see the teams that are suffering because they don't have it solved. But we have to recognize how incredible this year is and strongly consider and give him MVP. I'm going to let Mike go on this because I know Mike is fired up about Saquon Barkley right now.
Oh, yeah. He's my favorite player in the league right now. That's not a Charger, and he showed out for this game to a point that he had me buying Saquon gear on the way out the stadium. On the way back to my car, I felt like an Eagles fan for that little walk back. I was juiced after that game. But, yeah, man. And it's kind of ironic, Tony, that the reason that Saquon isn't going to get serious MVP consideration with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, which is the 2 QB race that we're in right now towards this award, it looks like, is because of his own freaking quarterback. There's 10 touchdowns Saquon could have right now off the tush push that we need to take into account into this conversation. Saquon has 2,000 all-purpose yards today. We have 6 more games. He has 15 touchdowns today. We have 6-7 more games. Like, this is nuts. This is record-breaking stuff. And it goes back to that Adrian Peterson MVP season. It goes back to the LaDainian Thompson MVP season. To me, when a running back shatters records, and I think it even holds more weight in the modern football, it's harder to stay on the field because the running back position is just become committees all over the league. It's also harder to get the same type of stat numbers when all the teams, like the Philadelphia Eagles, are putting A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith out wide, investing all their money and their draft picks into the wide receiver and quarterback position. Like, him breaking these records in this era is almost more impressive than when some of the other guys I'm listing won MVP and did it. So to me, when someone goes and does this, if someone goes and breaks the sack record, if someone goes and breaks the receiving all-time records, if someone breaks the rushing records, and there isn't a quarterback breaking the quarterback records, which I don't think those Manning single-season records are ever going to get fucking broken, then give it to the record-breaking performance, especially when you talk about some of the things that you've told me about, Tony, which I hope you have jotted down in your mind still, like the difference between the Eagles offense to this year. Like, you could see that gap.
Yeah, so they're up across the board, whether it's points, whether it's explosive plays, like everything has increased. And I think that one of the things that dings, like whenever we talk about quarterbacks, and things get messy when you start to talk about guys like where Jalen Hurts is in that conversation. And it's because Howie Roseman has done such a good job of building this roster, and then they have such excellent coaching. Like, every interview that Jason Kelce does, he talks about Jeff Stoutland and the offensive line. And I text you guys in our group chat the other day about Mekhi Becton, about how funny it is that with the Jets, he looked like he was never going to reach that level of potential. And then you see him out there in the game, and he's like pulling from the guard position and just smashing people and dominating. And he's like, all of that stuff goes into account. We talked about this in the offseason too, where it's like there are a couple of running backs we wanted to see in situations. And it was Derrick Henry in the Ravens. And we had a firsthand look at how terrible that was for us at SoFi on Monday night. And Saquon with the Eagles, getting them in these situations with quarterbacks that do increase their ability to be dynamic. But that also goes for the quarterback situation. Like, we look at somebody like Joe Burrow, who's probably could be in an MVP conversation if there's not a flag here, or there's a toe inbounds here, or T. Higgins doesn't miss, 5 or 6 games or whatever he's missed this year. So it's like
field goals, all kinds of stuff.
But Saquon's healthy, he's balling, and like Eagles fans just have to be over the moon with this, especially too because of him coming from the Giants. It's like it just keeps getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. I am really looking forward to potential Eagles-Lions NFC Championship game. That would just be absolute dynamite. Like,
yeah, I've got a video dropping on my channel about the back-to-back SoFi things, and I talked about it too, how excited I am for when we see the Lions and Eagles match up. Because on the flip side of things, I know this is a Saquon topic, I was so impressed with how well the secondary played in this game, how they've been all year, and how they're going to match up against the Lions is going to be a ton of fun. So we're going to have like young, hungry players on both sides of the ball lining it up. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and that crew versus Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, and that crew. It's going to be fun.
Well, in just the back-to-back nights, the road running backs put up like 400 yards. And I'm not even including just what Justice Hill did. Like, just Saquon and Derrick Henry, we're looking at like 400 yards of rushing between those two guys. So that's exciting. Here we go into second down. Let's go to the NFC South, right? We're looking at what the Falcons, it looked like it was going that way. They beat the Buccaneers twice. The Buccaneers are all banged up. And then the Bucs come off their bye. They go to New York. We got Baker Mayfield doing the DeVito celebration there. The running game for the Buccaneers continues to just develop. They're including Sean Tucker in this with Rashad White, Bucky Irving. The Bucs are headed in that direction where it's like, we start looking at the schedules, you look at what the Falcons got going on, you look at what the Bucs got going on. Before I dive into my thoughts on this, I want to hear, do you think the Bucs have a chance to catch the Falcons for the NFC South? And then right now, with 6 weeks to play, I want you to predict who you think is going to win the NFC South.
See what I did here, Tony? If they want to share, That would be very nice because we could use one of those guys right now. Holy smokes, they got a lot of running backs. But yeah, I see what you see with the Bucs, and now they're getting Mike Evans back too, who is going to be an absolute man on a mission. It's almost like there's the perfect amount of time for him to get these extra 600 yards that he needs to get to hit this 1,000-yard mark. And players say they don't pay attention to these kind of things. It's historic. He's paying attention to it. He's gonna have 100 yards in every freaking game the rest of the season over his own dead body. I think that's going to be huge for the rushing attack too, Tony, because that forces you to put some safeties out there for the deep threat. Mike Evans will take any DB in the league still up the sideline when he's healthy. The problem is that those two games lost to Atlanta, in order for Tampa to have a chance, which I do think they have a chance, they need the Falcons to drop, 2-3 more games out of this last stretch here. They got us this week, which they're going to lose. Then they got Minnesota, so that will be a second one. But then Las Vegas, Washington, New York, Carolina. For Tampa to have a chance, they would need the Falcons to lose 2 of those games, I believe, out of those 4 that they should win.
Yeah. So here's the remaining schedules, just so we can go through them. I wrote them down. The Bucs are at Carolina this week, then home against the Raiders, then at the Los Angeles Chargers, then at Dallas, and then finish the season with 2 home games against Carolina and New Orleans. Atlanta, on the other side, has the Chargers this weekend in Atlanta. Then they go on the road to Minnesota, on the road to Vegas. They get the Giants at home. Then they go to Washington and finish with Carolina at home. So this is
those
my
last two. Those last 2 are sneaky, like Washington, Carolina, while Tampa. Yeah, that's tough. It seems like the Buccaneers' path to winning this division, Tony, is the Chargers beating the Falcons and the Buccaneers beating the Chargers.
Yeah, I think that. So like when I looked at it, right, and I looked at teams that are still going to be contending, because like it's the old saying or whatever it is. I think Belichick, the season starts after Thanksgiving, right? There's like some old football adage that goes to. You look at the Bucs, they have the Chargers is the only team left that's going to be fighting and competing for a playoff spot. All those other teams are towards the top end of the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes. Yeah. On the other hand, the Falcons have a game against the Chargers this weekend. They are at Minnesota and then at Washington, which is going to be fighting to get that potential 7 seed in the NFC. So the games on paper seem to be tougher than what they are. And it's like the Falcons have done this thing where it's been, sort of flirting, like winning games dangerously. And it's not even like, that's what happens. That's why you go get a veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins, because you want to be able to win those close games. That's what they do. So I'm looking at this. My preseason pick was with the Buccaneers, Mike. I can't give up now. They're only
you can't.
I'm looking at the schedule. So by default, just to be right, I'm backing Baker Mayfield. His braggadocious behavior on the field is fun. I've always been a Baker Mayfield fan. I picked him to go to the Super Bowl a few years ago. That was a foolish, awful thing. The internet let me know was stupid. But in this situation, I'm going to go with the Bucs winning 5 of their final 6, with the Falcons maybe going 3-3 in this situation. That's when it gets interesting. Conversations heat up. And that's more interesting for us too, because then it becomes like Michael Penix. Is there a team? How does the salary cap work that would be willing to take Kirk Cousins in the offseason? So my pick is going to be the Bucs, but I'm also saying that kind of as default because I picked the Bucs at the beginning of the season. It's going to be interesting and fun.
I think they have enough time, but I'm going to stick with Atlanta. I think I picked Atlanta to win the division too, just narrowly over the Bucs. I think we were flipped on this one, so it's kind of perfect how we get down to the end here. I see the path though, Tony. It definitely is there for the Bucs, and Baker Mayfield is going to be in the locker room, preaching miracles. He's seen it happen with the Browns, so I'm sure that he's going to be having the morale of Tampa, thinking that they're going to win this division still. But I think they might just come up just short and tie the Falcons and lose via tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's when it'll really hurt. Because like for me, when I look at it, it's like, and the reason I like the Bucs so much is that eventually I think that defense starts to round into form at the end of the year here, and there's still a lot of players on that team. We could be looking at the end of Levante David with the Buccaneers. He's been one of my favorite players, one of those guys I always talk about. I think he's had a Hall of Fame career in a secondary market that doesn't necessarily get the love. So I don't know what the Buccaneers fight is, but go Bucks.
Go Mike. Going for all Mikes across the world.
Here's third down. And if you're an NFL fan, like we're NFL fans, like I got stuff all over. I got a Caleb Williams tee up here in the background. I got my Lawrence Taylor Giants helmet. I am a Chargers fan, but I appreciate the NFL. We just want to take a moment with Thanksgiving being tomorrow to talk about some players in the NFL that we are thankful of. We'll also encourage you in the comments here, who's players that you're thankful of. It could just be, biased who's on your own team. I got one player that's on the team that I root for every single week, but let's get into it. Mike, go ahead with players you're thankful that you get to watch every week in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll start off our next segment by going back to an old segment and starting it off with Saquon. And I wouldn't normally do this and double up on Saquon Barkley, but I witnessed the 300-yard game in person. And going into this game, Tony, I'm especially thankful because I expected it to be like the Chargers game and the ticket prices all drop right before kickoff and everything be sunshines and rainbows for me once I got to the stadium. But I was rudely awakened with a $500 bill to get into the freaking stadium, and he almost got 500 yards. So he got me $1 for each yard. I'm appreciative for you forever for that, Saquon. One of the most memorable games I've ever attended. And then second player that I'm most thankful for because he hits every single week, and I'm putting it in this week. I'll put it in next week after that, and the week after that is Kyren Williams. Anytime TD is a lock with Kyren Williams. It's too bad I'm not good at picking the rest of the picks in my parlays, Tony, because every week I put in first time TD or anytime TD or both on Kyren Williams, and every week it hit. So I'm thankful for him. Give me some confidence in this one pick that I can make per week. And then the last player I'm thankful for, and this one's probably going to throw you for a little bit of a loop, is Quentin Johnston. Here's why. It's not anything to do with his football ability. It's because every drop pass is a reminder for me and the rest of the Chargers fans of the complete 180 flip that this franchise has made from just 1 year ago. And it reminds me of where the general manager that drafted Quentin Johnston works now, and the general manager assistant general manager that drafted Zay Flowers works now. Just a constant reminder that Tom Telesco's a Raider, Joe Ortiz is a Charger, and things aren't going to be like this in the future when they pick another receiver in the first or second round next year.
I want to retroactively, can I rewind my clap? You turned that, you flipped it on its head. Like you're thankful for the wrong reasons.
What do you mean?
Like you're
how's there wrong reasons to be thankful for somebody?
You're saying that are you saying he's the reminder, like the drop passes remind you of how bad it used to be, but the time
he just reminds me that the future's bright. The future's brighter than the past.
Okay. All right. I'm in. I misunderstood. I thought we were taking shots. I don't want to take shots.
I took some shots. I took a few shots.
All right. So I did read it right. I take back my clap.
This is like a all-around shot here. I just threw it at everybody.
I'm thankful for the opportunity for Quentin to ball out this weekend and just have the internet and all the haters this week going, I knew Q. It's like, no, you didn't. I could find it on your Twitter timeline that you were bashing him. Okay.
I'll be thankful if they drop their balls and they put our 5'5" receiver out there at X.
I would. We're not getting. This is where I'm going to do a Chargers talk right now. But DJ Chark, I would like to see get some more run. Okay, players I'm thankful for. I'm going to start with number one. Been to 4 home games this year. We got breaking news or what?
No, I thought it was number one. You're going to pick Quentin Johnston too?
No. Derwin James. He's so exciting. He's so intense, and just the way that he almost like the way he lives and breathes football is like how we are as fans, like how emotional he is on every play, the pregame speeches, and then the physicality and speed. And you're going to see a theme in, the kind of football that I grew up enjoying. And a lot of these guys defensively can't even play that way anymore. But Derwin James is so athletic and strong and gifted as a football player. Like, it really feels like a treat to get out there to the stadium and watch him live in person. Like, just how fast he is. And then when he gets there, the way that he can tackle is a phenomenal player, person.
And I think he's starting to really like grow in the fan base even more. A lot of times, favorite players were Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler, these other guys. I think those guys leaving, a lot of fans have shifted their attention towards this guy, and rightfully so. I saw so many Derwin James jerseys at the game this last weekend. The person sitting behind me had a Derwin James tattoo on her forearm. Like, it's impressive what he's done to earn the fandom as a safety. It's hard to do.
Yeah, and he just really is a phenomenal player. He does a lot of work, community stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He's just one of my favorite players to watch and root for. And I'm thankful for Derwin James and balling out. All right, going away from the Chargers on this next one. This man beat cancer, okay? James Conner, the way he runs the football, and we don't like. There's a lot of we've talked about Saquon, we've talked about Derrick Henry, we could have talked about David Montgomery. There's just a way that certain guys run that's very old school, like that Mike Allstott. A gap, not worried about the linebacker here, just gonna run straight through his face. That is not easy. Like, you mentally are bracing for it, and he doesn't do that. He's like, you better be bracing because I am about to run over you, and that is so much fun for me to watch. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for, like, he does do well in the passing game too, but just getting out there, kind of watching that old school smash mouth football of James Conner is fun. And then the player that I think is that really plays the game with a kid-like enthusiasm that it comes through on the TV screen. We saw it in receiver this offseason, George Kittle. The celebrations, like he really embraces like his love for the WWE and brings it to the football field, and he entertains and he goes out there and plays physical football. And Mike, this, when I talk about tight ends and I talk about the greatest tight ends of all time, the guys that put their hand in the dirt and go out there and block the C gap or are used in the run play, like on the smoke screens to the wide receiver, and you're getting Kittle out there taking on linebackers or safeties or whoever, like, and then in the passing game, he's also phenomenal at that end too, and celebrates in a joyful way, and always seems very grateful for the opportunity to get out there and play football. He's one of those guys that, even though I'm not a 49ers fan, I'm kind of a 49ers hater, I will miss watching George Kittle play football because the dude is just, he's a baller and he's gritty, and that is fun to me. So that's my list. Again, we encourage you, put some people in the comments, some football players that you're thankful that you get to watch every Sunday. showing the keyboard. This is how you type in the comments section.
This is how you do it right here. That's a great pick, Tony. And he seems like he likes living in California, and 49ers got some tough decisions to make. Just saying.
I would be so excited if George Kittle signed with the Los
Angeles. There's a few players out there this offseason that could be available via trade or via just cap casualty that I'm like, Chargers, give them wherever they want money wise. I don't care. That's one of them.
I think he's too intricate to what they want to do, right? The way that he blocks, the way that he is in the receiving game, everything Kyle Shanahan wants to do, it's going to be built around him regrouping, right? Whether it's in the run game or in the pass game.
They got to keep him.
I think he's the least expendable of all those players that you might be referring to. That'll be more of an off-season conversation, and can't wait to have that. Fourth down to the Bets. Finally had a winning week. 3-2, had some rough couple of weeks, but feel good about where it was at. I was a little worried about the Eagles game, and then about, 15, 20 minutes in, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be a game for the Eagles. They're putting some people on notice, and that put me over the top of 3-2, 3-2 for the week. Mike, 2-3, his first losing week. He's still very much on the positive side, 10-7 overall. My record overall, wrote it down, 22-23 on the season. let's get it started here on Thanksgiving for me. I wanted to pick the Dolphins. Tua said the comment about how he wants to change. It's about changing narratives and stuff. And I think at a certain point, like, it's not really a narrative when your record is like 1-7. That's not a narrative. Like, that's a fact.
You're just the Florida football team.
Nobody's crafting it. And I think for as long as I've watched football, Green Bay in November, December, January football is one of the greatest home field advantages that you can have. And the Packers are only giving up 3 points. So I like Green Bay at home, -3 in this game to cover. And it's not that, like, I still think that Tua can look good and sort of combat some of the conversations by just playing the way he's played, because he's been balling over the last 4 games. Like, he's been phenomenal. I mean, Mike sent me a video before the show of a Tua fan, like standing out there telling all the haters where to go. But I got the Packers at home, -3. My second pick is the Steelers are on the road against the Bengals team coming off a bye that has to, they are desperate and they have to win out. But the Steelers need to keep pace in a division game, and they're getting 3 points in Cincinnati.
Wow.
I like them on the road, +3, divisional game. Know they got to have it in this spot. And then also, I think what they do downfield, George Pickens, Mike Williams, I think they're going to be able to have some explosive shots there. And then hopefully this extended break for the Steelers has gotten them, because they're coming off a bye, but I think the Steelers played, their last game was the Thursday game against Cleveland. So they got a little bit of a mini bye in there too. So it's like both teams should be really rested, ready to go. Najee Harris, Steelers, +3 for my second pick.
Yeah, I think that's a generous line too. That's respect to the Bengals.
Yeah, but I think that also the odds makers know that it's a good team with a good offense in a division game at home. Yeah, it felt like something I just had to pick. Seahawks again. I just keep picking against the Jets because I just don't believe in them. And if you're telling me that it's -1, that basically the Seahawks just have to win the game, even though I picked against the Seahawks last week, that looked like crap. But I'm getting Geno, and everybody loves to use the term revenge game. I feel like this is why wouldn't you want to be revengeful if you're Geno Smith after what the Jets did to you in the start of your career and all the chaos that went on there? I think that the Seahawks defense is going to cause some problems for the Jets offensive line and Aaron Rodgers. So I'm taking the Seahawks -1 on the road in New York. Then I got another road team, a desperate team. The Los Angeles Rams are going to New Orleans. -2.5. They need to win by a field goal. The Rams need to win this game to have any shot at getting that final wild card spot. And I did have the Rams winning the division, and I made a lot of mistakes there. I had the Rams as my Super Bowl team from the NFC. Mistake. But they still could make the playoffs, and you get into the dance, you could make a run. I also just kind of root for the Rams. But as we talked about it, Mike, Derek Carr with an interim head coach plays like freaking Patrick Mahomes. The dude, he couldn't lose with Bisaccia, and now he's got Rizzi, and it's like the dude is unstoppable. So maybe not a great pick, but I got the Rams -2.5. My final pick, I'm going to Buffalo. They get the Niners there. I think coming into the season, this was a game that I was really excited about, being this late in the season, seeing these two teams, but the 49ers just aren't healthy enough to go to Buffalo in a coming off a bye type situation to go and really make this close. It's 6.5 for Buffalo, but I think that's something they can cover. So one last time here, I got the Packers on Thanksgiving -3 against the Dolphins. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers +3 against the Bengals. The Seahawks -1 versus the Jets. Rams -2.5 versus New Orleans. And I got the Buffalo Bills -6.5 against San Francisco. What do you got against the spread, Mike?
I've got 4 for you this week, Tony, and we're going to start this off and finish this off in the next 2 days. First 4 games are my picks, and I will be 4-0 by Friday, chilling on Sunday on my bag. Anyways, I'm going to start off with the game that I agree with you on, and that is the Packers to beat the Dolphins. I think this will be a 10-plus point game. I know that the Dolphins are fighting their ass off right now. I know that they're playing really well. I like the way that this Packers rushing attack matches up against the Dolphins defense. I think they're going to be able to get an early lead. And like you've been saying, the Dolphins struggled to get it going when they're forced to pass in the cold. They're going to have to commit to the run game and go blow for blow with the Packers. Give me Josh Jacobs in that group to put it together. It is 3.5 points. I wish it was 3 or 2.5. That would be pretty nice to have the field goal. But I'll take the Packers anyways. My next one might surprise some people, but it's kind of similar thing in the last week when I took the Cowboys to cover. They ended up winning that game. The Bears getting 9.5 points here. I wish that I got that extra half to make it 10. But after last week's game against the Minnesota Vikings, their offense came alive against a pretty aggressive defense. I didn't get to watch the game, but I assume they started to get after some of those blitzers. I think that that's going to be put on tape for the Bears here against the Lions. Maybe the Lions give Caleb a little bit more respect. I think this game's going to be close. And I don't know. Do you believe in curses, Tony? Because the Chargers are now 0-7 in these uniforms or whatever.
Yeah. I don't believe
the Lions lose. They lose every year on Thanksgiving, no matter how good or bad they are. So I'll take the Bears to cover. And then I got the Cowboys beating the Giants pretty handily. You got Drew Lock coming in here to face a hungry Micah Parsons. And what I saw out of the Cowboys defense last week against a solid offense shows me that they're at least going to fight this thing out to the very end for their own personal contracts probably. But, hey, I don't need good reasoning to bet on Micah Parsons to destroy Drew Lock. We'll just bet on it every single time. So I'll take the Cowboys minus 3.5 over the Giants on tomorrow as well. And then my last pick, now they don't even have Gardner Minshew. Okay. I'm taking the Chiefs to win by 50 maybe. They didn't get that like absolute revenge or vengeance on them for that Muppet puppet crap. I think it all comes pouring down, and you got Mahomes over there doing this on the sideline. I'm here with his hand puppet up by 21 plus points on the Raiders to end this one on Black Friday early, while whoever the Chiefs' backup quarterback is in there. All I will say is Andy Reid, give it to Pacheco, baby. Just put him in my lineup. Give it to Pacheco. Pacheco. I have one more thing, Tony. I don't ever wish for injuries, but I put a challenge out there to the Raiders defense this week. I've told Raiders fans to share it with every single player they possibly can. The challenge is, if we don't have to play Patrick Mahomes in a couple weeks, I will not talk shit about this Raiders season all off season. So there's your bounty.
I do not support that. I almost had the Chiefs in this spot too, because this feels like the perfect opportunity for the Chiefs to embarrass them, right? It's going to be the only game on, and they are going to, I think the defense has to be feeling not embarrassed, but like
this just broke right now during the press conference. I just got the notification. Don't ask me why I have notifications on for this kind of stuff. Quote from Antonio Pierce at his press conference when asked about facing the Chiefs today, claiming that the Raiders are the worst team in football.
Time out.
I haven't watched it yet. Maybe we could watch it live together, but that's what it says in text.
Oh my God.
Football against the worst team in football.
There it is. Yeah, he did.
Watching, yeah. It's called spade to spade, right? The best team in football against the worst team in football. Let's change it.
Okay. The way he's saying that is like to motivate. He's like, this is what you guys all, this is what you think of us. This is what you think of our team. You think we're the worst team. I don't think he believes that. I think the way he's saying it, but just reading the text of it, the way that you did, it's like, dude.
That's a great clip for me. I'm saving that one.
But it's also like, are you just trying to get home for Thanksgiving? Are you just trying to make sure that you get fired by saying that into a microphone? You're like, hey, I got dinner plans tomorrow, so I don't want to be there on Friday.
It's too bad you guys aren't the worst team in football. That actually be better for you.
Well, they are, I'm getting text messages from, our friend who's a Raiders fan saying like, well, I need the Ravens to win because it's better for strength of schedule and we get it closer to the number 1 overall pick. It's like, holy shit. This really is kind of turned into a dumpster fire.
Marcus Russell incoming. Yay. He wears the same number.
Last thing on this before we go to fifth down, the game of the week, they announced Drew Lock as the starter. Did I miss that?
Drew Lock's a starter. Tommy DeVito, I think, is banged up. Like, he's not even going with the team.
Okay. Yeah, he took some shots in that game.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say, too, before that breaking news thing, was the way Andy Reid talked to the Chiefs team last week. They seemed disappointed that game against Carolina was so close. And I just think that Spags is going to have something defensively, offensively at the same time, too. There's going to be some more ring around the rosy type in Bears.
Yeah, like they didn't lose, but it's still like a bounce back in their minds.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They got to get it right here. Game of the week is the Eagles playing the Ravens. Both teams were out here on the West Coast last week. It's pretty close. I don't know the actual distance between Philadelphia and Baltimore. I don't think it's that far away. So it's not like a bad road trip to go on. Eagles fans should be able to swoop up some tickets and have some, representation in the stadium there. This game, there's a lot riding on it because I think that the Ravens need to continue the momentum that they're building, playing well against playoff teams. There's the 23-1 against NFC teams for Lamar Jackson. I don't know how, what they did to the Lions last year and the 49ers and everything doesn't feel like the exact same kind of defense. But this is a perfect game that I wish that this could have been flexed into Sunday Night Football. I don't think it is. I think Sunday Night Football is I forget, but I think it's Bills Niners or something.
Yeah, it is Bills Niners.
So this would have been the perfect game to just be able to watch as a standalone Sunday Monday Night Football game. But we're gonna get to see it regardless. Which way do you lean? Is there anything you're rooting for in this matchup? I mean, are we just going full on Saquon show for you in this episode?
Yeah. Well, we talk about my other favorite players in the league. He passed Lamar in that game. So we're talking about second and third here going at it, or first and second non-Chargers favorite players, whatever. I'm a football fan, y'all. I like everybody. It's just the fact that I have to explain that to people is just like the internet has put some PTSD in me. They think that I can only think about the Chargers. I don't have a bandwidth to think about anyone else. What I want to see happen in this game is, honestly, I want to see the Ravens lose. I want to see all the AFC teams get weaker as we get closer to the AFC playoff bracket. I'd rather play Pittsburgh than Baltimore in round one. I know that might be a hot take. I think that the Chargers get another swing at that defense. They're going to put up a lot more than 10 points. And I trust our defense against Russell Wilson and company to slow them down. So I'm rooting for the Baltimore to lose and stay in the wild card hunt. So that way we're not dealing with that freaking mess of stopping Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, which seemed damn near impossible this week. The Chargers were in position to make multiple plays on these guys, and they would get loose. So for that reason, I'm rooting for the Eagles. And then I also think the Eagles will win the game because I also feel like some drop passes, some penalties. J.K. Dobbins was averaging 8 yards a carry before he gets injured in that game. The Ravens defense got off the hook a little bit. You can say whatever you want about the Ravens offense. They balled out. But on the other side of the ball, this should have been a 30-30 game down the wire. It should have been really close. It should have been really tight, high scoring. And I still feel the same way I felt about the Ravens defense before. And I think that the Eagles offense is going to have no problems moving the ball down the field. And I think they're going to win the game.
So I need to do more research on injury reports and stuff. I probably lean the Ravens if Roquan Smith and Travis Jones are out there for the Ravens. I do think that's going to be very impactful on being able to stop Saquon Barkley, the rushing attack that the Eagles are going to bring there. But then on the Eagles side is Devonta Smith out there, because that just makes the Eagles so dynamic in a way.
He's like a counter, yeah.
Yeah, it's you don't know, you're defending out here, on whether it's X, Z situation, and then over the middle, Dallas Goedert is making fantastic plays, and then you got to worry about out of the backfield. Even Gainwell is able to get out there and hurt you if you're not paying attention to where he's at in the screen game or running the football. So it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm siding just for the purposes of the show, and so I can have it on the record. I'm leaning Ravens on this one at home in a close game. It's like when I look at the Eagles defense, they have played a lot better, but like Nakobe Dean's a little bit smaller of a linebacker. He's been playing good. He made a couple really nice plays in the Rams game there on Sunday night. But I just think that like this, like tackling Derrick Henry, tackling Saquon Barkley seems like a freaking nightmare for anybody out there. And obviously these guys are all competitors and tough and like they're going to attack that challenge. It just, I tend to side with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry combo at home in a must-have it game to try and get back to winning the division, as to where like I don't feel as strongly about it being must win for the Eagles. They're all must wins, but like, must want to win, whatever it is. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Mike's going with the Eagles. In the comments, let us know whether you think it's, which bird do you think it is? Is it an eagle? Is it a raven? It's going to be a fun one. That's all I know. I'm excited to go back and watch that.
Is this our second most exciting option for a Super Bowl matchup? Like, I think Bills Lions is the most exciting one on paper by far right now. But is this second?
So I personally will like my favorite Super Bowl matchups will contain Lions no matter what. Right? Like the
Lions Ravens. There you go.
Lions Ravens would be fantastic. I want to see Dan Campbell for a couple of weeks being interviewed. I want to see Amon-Ra St. Brown up there. And I also just want to see all the Lions fans like that are in my life that have never gotten to experience this kind of winning before. Like they're just smashing people. That's why when you said you're picking the Bears on Thanksgiving, I was like,
oh, I'm picking them to cover. Let's see.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like you're picking them to cover the 10 and a half or whatever it is. I just don't see that at all. I mean, it feels like, when I originally pitched a storylines idea for you, like for third down, I was thinking we should be talking about Eberflus on Thanksgiving not being in a good spot.
Nah, the Bears got this, Tony. Don't worry. They're gonna lose by 7.
Okay, I think it's gonna be worse than that. There's just something when you watch this Lions team play, it is no mercy. It's full on Karate Kid, sweep the leg.
They scored 53 times, I think, right? Or nonstop. 52, 47 or something like that. Like they just put up crazy amounts of points.
Like even with like it's like, Dave Montgomery's out there, great. More Jahmyr Gibbs. It's fantastic. So
you saw the interview with them today? They're in the locker, right? And David Montgomery's on one side and Gibbs is on the other side. And they asked Goff, 4th and 1 with the Super Bowl on the line, who would you rather hand it to, David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs? And Goff said that he's taking a QB sneak.
I love it. That's fucking awesome. He's like, everybody, step back.
Push me. Those two guys are pushing me. All right, Tony, wrap us.
We're going with the QB keeper. Ready? On one. Ready, break. Here it is. Thank you for another week. Tuning in, Fifth Down newsletter. Please consider subscribing, hanging out with us, talking football with us. We'll be on this every Wednesday. We'll be back on Saturday for the Pick'em show for all the games over the weekend. Be doing that with Joe Morley. Anything else? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yeah. If you looking for Black Friday sales, fifthdown.shop will not have any, but if you want some gear, you can get some anyways.
We're bad business owners.
But seriously, if you guys want to check out our gear and give us some feedback, at least in the comment section, we would love it. We'd appreciate it. Fifthdown.shop.
We'll be there. We'll direct all those comments to Mike. Hope everybody honestly has a tremendous Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week.